All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What in the World. I'm here with Judy today. It's our sixth episode, really exploring what's up. What are we noticing? What are we personally experiencing or going through? And just that chat to bring in greater awareness of some things that are alive for us, some things that we can perceive or sense either in the collective field or in our own lives. So, Judy, what is up for you?
Wow, what a week it's been. A lot of discovery this week, self-discovery, some, I would call it pretty deep, like core work. I mean, in a very literal sense. And in those investigations, what I've discovered is, I guess, part of my purpose in a way, because I've come to discover some things that I literally had a deep, like really deep desire to learn about me and about the world and about how to facilitate something, how to create something for myself, how to find what I was looking for and then create that in the world. And maybe to folks on the outside, they'd be like, what are you talking about? But you do that. Yes. And even at an even deeper level, being able to do that, gosh, how do I even describe that? Being able to do that with even more consciousness than ever before and even more purpose. So not really seeking a purpose outside of myself, but really looking at understanding in all the situations that I've drawn to myself in the world, looking at that law of attraction. They're not coming because there's something wrong that I have to fix and then my life will be better if. It's a case of really understanding that you're that vibrational match to those things, because that's exactly what it is that you want to gain. That's what you want to learn. And so I'm learning. That's what I'm doing. I'm learning and adapting and watching the adaptation and learning process, like really up close in a microscope, like really one tiny little frame at a time. That's been remarkable. So, and being able to create the space to do that, and noticing that I made myself create the space to do that, so that I did have the time and the space and the awareness in order to take a deeper dive and watch certain things frame by frame that have taken place in my life, to take a really good look at, like, what am I up to, right? Not just, hey, what's up in the world, and not, hey, what's up in my life, but like really look at, like, hey, what has been up? What have I been doing? What have the situations been that have been surrounding me that are urging me deeper and deeper into this this self-learning process that I'm in here on Earth, embodied, and just being fascinated by that. So developing a deep appreciation for how I do that and how it's been working, and then also if there's any way that maybe those teaching methods can be optional now instead of mandatory. Can I learn out of just general curiosity, or does it need to be a pain point? Can I go into the void and navigate around to find my way using a compass? And can I navigate to the unknown without having to bump into, I need to go this way because that way is too painful? Can I just notice, oh, this way just feels nice, it feels good, I'm going to go that way? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Almost like the one system of navigation was just away from pain towards pleasure, right? That's one of the base templates here. And so many of us are exploring beyond that, right? Rather not averting pain, but actually meeting pain.
Yeah.
And also the willingness to receive pleasure rather than consume what's deemed pleasurable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Precisely.
Yeah, I've been noticing this week also having that time and space for the personal exploration and just to go deep within and just build the new foundation. I think last year it really came in as creating a foundation based in love, safety, and support, and true support, true love, and true safety, right? Going beyond maybe what we we or I have decided is safety, or decided is love, or decided is support, which may not actually be that. It may be the very opposite of it. So to truly build this new foundation and just becoming aware of anywhere, especially expected competence, I would name it as, where I expect myself to be able to know how to do something.
Ah, love that term.
Release the expected competence into, so truth, is this something I've been taught or shown how to do? Yes or no? Oh, no. Okay. So that expectation that I would know how to do it, where is that coming from? Okay. If I didn't have that expectation, then what would I have available? Because when that energy of expectation or expected competence comes in, there's kind of a sinking or a depression or a sadness, almost like a immediate collapse. Rather than being in that, the freedom of, oh, I don't know how to do that. Okay, who does? Where can I learn it? Like that level of curiosity and lightness, but often with the weight of the expectation that I guided my early life based on. What do other people expect, and what are they demanding of me, and how do I fulfill that? And that's kind of my guide. And all of a sudden over a course of years, I'm really choosing to have an internal guide, right? Choosing to know what's true for me. How does this feel in my body? Breathe deeply. Like, what would I like to use to guide and direct my life? You know, are they priorities? Is it this heartfelt intuition? Like, what is it? And to be on that exploration rather than saying, this is my guide, this is how I guide my life. It's really just like, I wonder how I do. So becoming aware of how I have been doing it, and waking up to those choice points of whether I can do it different or whether that's working. And beyond the analysis from a mental standpoint, but just really from the sense of, okay, I know there's something different. I don't yet all have all the information. Let me seek for that or receive more of that, you know, to build that real foundation of, okay, here's my guidance. Here are my priorities. Here are some things I tune into when I'm choosing in my life. So that exploration of really building that foundation and releasing the expected competence, so I can truly learn or receive what I haven't yet learned or known.
Right. And, you know, I appreciate hearing that so much from you. So, because in some of our conversations here and then our conversations offline, what I've learned about you in your extreme competence in learning through structure, like being able to take a structured program that's there, and so competent at learning in a format that's sort of laid out, step 1, step 2, step 3, and, you know, in a syllabus or some sort of program that's laid out, and you're exceptional at that. And then you come into this other space where you're like, you're putting something out there that you'd like to learn, and then there's no structured path. So it's this beautiful witness. I feel like I'm witness to you going, oh, so it's me. I've put that there because I'm really great at that, and I can still do that. And now I'd like to also become adept in this.
Right. The willingness to say, okay, most of my life I was led or directed or guided by a course outline, by a syllabus, by here's the template, and I get to choose how I fill it in or how I complete the assignment, but it's all laid out. And then to going over here where there isn't a course outline or a syllabus that's handed to me. So I'm like, so initially it's almost a freeze response.
Yeah.
Or just, what do I do? What do I do? And this, as though I'm expected to know how to lead, guide, and direct my life without a course outline, even though I was trained in that for 25 years, right, through multiple degrees. So then all of a sudden, so I have to release that expected competence and really allow myself to stumble, allow myself to be a little weak, right, or a little underdeveloped, and even that can be named a judgment. But if I've been working within this one system, and then all of a sudden I'm in this different space and place, and I'm like, I don't know how to navigate this one. So then initiating that navigation, the willingness to really like surrender, if you want, to my own process rather than expecting myself to be like certain or be like self-directed all of a sudden, like kind of overnight, essentially. Like, okay, now you self-direct. What? What do other people need, want, and expect of me? How do I guide my life without that in place? And the willingness to to get curious about that and wonder.
Yeah. And this image that comes when you say that, it's so often energy translates into vision for me, is of you, like, when you're in a, a structured system. Let's say we've all been to grade school, we've all been to high school. So, you clear, and then there's like a math quiz, and then you have the math test, and then you have the spelling quiz, and then you have the spelling test or whatever. So there's these little bits along the way that give you the feedback of how you're doing, and if you're headed in the right direction. Are you going to make it through this semester or through this grade to the next grade? So you're getting that feedback that tells you, yeah. Whereas when you're self-directed, you are the one making up the goal. You are the one like going through, so you don't get any feedback from an external source that says, yes, you're headed in the right direction, or yes, you've passed this quiz, or yes, you've passed this test. And so you, those little checkpoints along the way that we're used to having, since they're not there, you're just kind of like, oh, I hope I'm doing this right. But to me, I guess the part of the learning is that there isn't a particular right way, and there's also not a wrong way to do it. You're literally finding your way through that as you're going. So you can't be doing it wrong, because what you're discovering is you, and there really isn't an incorrect way to discover yourself.
Yeah, and it was around end of 2011 when my world really broke open, because I read so many books and I worked so hard at this whole path of self-discovery and and transitioning from this one world into this other one, and trying to find my way, and driven by that mind and that learning-based paradigm that is used to progression and sequences, and clear markers of growth. And anyways, there's this one moment when I heard on this telecall someone say, what if you're not wrong, and what if you've never been wrong? The way it went into my system, it just really did break apart the fundamental sense that my life isn't working, so it means I'm doing something wrong. Right.
Things it's not working, whatever.
Yeah, whatever that is, right? But there are some sort of markers, and the human markers would be work, money, stability, security, relationship. Right? Let's say there's those like markers of life works if you have these things in life.
Yeah. Just if I could interject for one moment while you're saying that, like when I work with clients, literally I had it like in working with them for so long, I ended up breaking it down into these 4 categories that people would come with broken things. That's health, career, finances, and relationship.
Right.
Or business, career, same, that's interchangeable. But these 4, like literally, that's where our report cards are coming back to let us know where we're at and how we're doing. But we take that so much as like a pass or fail, right?
Yes, and then punishment and reward, depending on how much we were trained in those systems.
Yes.
Right? Which is just like, if this isn't all right or good, it means I'm doing something wrong. So either God is punishing me, I'm punishing me, or I need to recruit someone else to punish me, or let me know that I'm really off track.
Yes.
I can be validated in this wrongness, right? Or get people who be like, you're on the right track, and as though there is a track, right? So that's the fascinating piece.
And as if they know.
Right. Yeah, of this like deconstructing and what we mean by language, and then also what have we used as markers of this pass fail or the success fail. And it's just fascinating. And there's a certain percentage of people on the planet who really think they know and are really convinced that they do, and they're willing to tell everyone around them what they should or shouldn't be doing, right? No, I know, or here's the answer. And then there's a percentage of us that go, I'm willing to know. I wonder what I do know. I'm willing to speak what I know. I'm willing to hear what someone's saying and express what comes forward for me. But there isn't this like commitment to answer, right? There's more of open, expanding exploration.
And the willingness, as you said, the willingness to know for you too, right? Because wherever anybody is along that journey, they're their own universe.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be that self-directed knowing of like, here's what I know for me right now. And what I have found a huge contribution is also in that allowing space of letting other people know what they know about them and about what's going on in that moment that they're expressing it, because it couldn't be more valid. Of course it's valid. It's happening, right? How could that be invalid? And you could also then dive into what you know and get into the center of it, and you'll know something in addition. Like you'll have an expansion of your knowing. And so literally a minute later, 2 minutes later, a day later, your knowing has expanded. So it's not like I know this and I'm going to stay here and this is a knowing, and then that's that. And then in order for that paradigm or that structure that you've created hard and fast to break apart, you have to experience pain, right?
Right.
And or something, right? Some kind of a loss, and
either
kind of
a
falling away,
confusion,
breaking away, and something uncomfortable, like because you've identified with that. So that's what I know. So therefore, like that's true for me, and that. But the truth is so fluid, right? The truth is so darn fluid, and thank God for that. Right?
Yeah, and that's where often the joy comes in. We're like, wow, I've never seen that before. Remember, like someone the other day just reflected back to me, or we had this exploration, and I got to become even more aware of where my life was guided based on what other people expected and demanded of me. And so I just go to work fulfilling that. And that was that's what I used to guide my experience, right? There are other elements into the surface, but that's one of the overt ones. But when that was taken away, I was actually angry, right? I'm angry. Like I'm coming into a new environment, and all of a sudden there's no one demanding, right, at that high level of me or expecting of me. So I feel angry that they're not demanding and expecting. And what I got to laugh about the other day was just like, that's hilarious, because that's actually control
right.
of the being. So I'm
angry because I'm not being controlled.
I'm not being controlled, which so I just got to laugh, and it brought tremendous lightness, and it was quite hilarious.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Because in the name of freedom and love and expansion, it's like, that everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, right? They're not demanding and expecting, which means that they're actually acknowledging you as a being as you are now and loving you as you are now, and they're not expecting you to change in order to love you. Like, that's profound love.
Yeah, they're actually acknowledging that you will come into your knowing as and when you do in every moment, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the initiation of self-trust, and thus they're mirroring that trust. Yet it was hilarious to witness how just when a template's in place, when whatever template, regardless of how effective or ineffective it is, when it's taken away or goes away, there's this either confusion or shock or anger, but from a higher perspective, you're like, that's quite hilarious. I was angry that they took away my prison. They sent me
cozy. It's cozy in there.
Like, I'm not even on parole. They just let me go, and I'm angry that they.
Right. Well, if you feel like, because if you know what's expected, then you deliver that. Then you feel this thing that you call like competence, right?
Right.
I'm competent, but this other, and you're competent in this arena, right?
Yeah.
And that never goes away. You're always competent. You can always call on those skills. But then there's this other, I would like to be competent over here as well.
Yes.
But when you look at your athletic career, for example, you didn't just step on the ice for the first time or row for the first time, and you weren't competent from the second that you did it in that sport, but you were competent to learn, which is the difference, right? And so we can take these literal translations from here's a sport and here's a coach and they're going to teach me how to do this, or here's a team and then I want to be a part of the team. Now I know what it takes. I have to get to this level of ability to be able, that's great. But you were demonstrating your competence all along. Even by choosing that sport, you were already competent in knowing that
this is something I can excel in. This is something I can do well in.
This is something I will enjoy. This is something. Yeah. So in choosing the form and structure in the beginning, there's competence there as well. Like, so I want to feel the vibration of competence.
Yes.
And then you get to know that super, 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 super well. Like, that is hardwired in your system. You know what competence feels like. Yeah. Right? And then all of a sudden you're like, and we're just going to change gears, bing, and okay, find competence here, right? Yeah. So interesting. Really cool. So yeah. Very good. Well, so that's what, yeah.
That's what's up in the world. Well, acknowledging really just where we're at, right? And the willingness to dive deep, or when things surface, not even through a point of pain, but just a point of curiosity, we can then initiate a new expansion. So we don't need to be backed against the wall in order to choose greater.
That's right.
We can begin that exploration of getting curious about just elements or aspects that we've used to guide or direct our lives or find meaning, and then being willing to adjust that and notice the path of confusion that sometimes is part of that transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the confusion, for sure, for sure. It's so fun to like hit these moments where that awareness kind of comes in, where you realize not only did you know what you were doing then, but you do know what you're doing now, and you're in the you're in process of discovering.
Yes.
Not only are you a competent teacher, you're a competent student, and you might always not understand what it is that you are teaching yourself, but it is you.
Mm-hmm.
It's never not you.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is the student can give feedback to the teacher as well. The student can say, I'm really enjoying this, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, or I could use a little break, maybe a like spring break, Christmas break, whatever. Like I could use a summer holiday, or just even when you feel that you've taken in so much that you need some integration time, the student said, okay, because that's a learning too. That's like you're learning how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And you're learning like where your points of like how you learn and under what circumstances you learn that are really like a huge contribution to you, because sometimes you will want company while you're doing that. Sometimes you'll want privacy. Sometimes you'll want to take a class and take a few nuggets from there. Other times you'll want to take a walk in nature and just let things filter through your awareness. It comes in so many different ways. But if the student is so impatient, it just keeps like, hammering away at those lessons, or the teacher is so insistent. If we have a very insistent teacher within us that just keeps wanting to like force feed those lessons because we want something from that.
Yeah, some mark of progression.
Yes. Yeah, you'll know because it'll feel uncomfortable. You'll always feel like you've got, spiritual indigestion because you're always, it won't feel nice.
Okay.
This won't feel nice. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's like in summary that, it feels, although we've had two very, very different, examples of all of that, it's very, it's kind of woven into, like there's the same sort of underlying capacity for learning and understanding that learning process and letting it unfold and, allowing ourselves to realize that we do have our back in this whole thing. We are that student. We are that teacher. We are one and the same. And we do have a say in how that is all taking place. And I don't think, what I've heard before, say, in spiritual circles or psychological musings or whatever, like, oh, you'll never give yourself more than you can handle. I disagree.
Yeah. I mean, there are those of us who, we joke the overachiever in the room,
Yeah. I think we'll do. And that's when we realize, oh, okay, that's more than I can handle, more than I even am required to handle. Mm-hmm. So I don't need to force feed myself that quickly. I mean, I can go at a pace that's respectful. And that's how you find your respectful pace at any given time, is to try different things out. And then you'll notice for yourself, what are my signs that say, this is the right pace for me right now? What are my signs that say, oh, I've got indigestion because I'm trying to force feed something. And you'll be in the middle of learning that. But sometimes we can take these like, they're all over Facebook now. Years ago, before Facebook was even a thing, if anybody remembers that, does anybody remember when social media was not here? Coming from an IT background, right? Spending 13 years in the IT industry, I can tell you, I was the first person that I knew that had an email address. Me and one other friend of mine who was in university. We had an internal email at work, which was all new too. That was so exciting. But there was one other human being that I could email because only one person had an email that was not in the company I worked with. So that was kind of a big deal. Email was a huge deal. And so when you take that, that's a pretty short time frame. We're talking in the very early 90s, right? So gosh, where are we now? So that's like only 20 years ago, I guess. well, 25, let's call it 25 years ago, when it was like emailing people wasn't a thing. Now, all of a sudden, here we are, and everything is on at our fingertips right on the phone. When I had my awakening and my transition into, oh, wow, look at this amazing field of energy and look what you can do. And this is amazing. And I started dedicating my attention there. And I also began facilitating for other people. I started sending out what I called light bites, right? And every week or so I would send out an email that had these little blurbs, like a little light bite, some kind of inspirational little bloop, something that was nice, and kind of just like a little reflection. And I may or may not write something afterwards, but every time I would come across these things, they would hit me right, between the eyes, and right in my third eye, or right in the heart, or both. And so that I would find that a contribution. So then I would begin sharing that, because I thought, hey, if I'm finding that a contribution, maybe somebody else would. So I'll just share it. If they like it, great. If they don't, that's okay. It might not hit them that week. So now we fast forward, and here's where the social media comes in. At any given moment, talk about abundance. You can go onto any social media outlet, and you are being pummeled with messages, like constantly these messages of inspiration. But a lot of them, if you really feel into them, a lot of them are kind of bossy, right?
Right.
And it's really interesting, because I went back and I kept all my light bites that I sent out, and I started looking through them, like, were mine bossy? And I looked through and I'm like, no, you know what? And that's what I liked about them, is that they were pointing towards something, they were suggesting, they weren't telling. And that's why I found them light. And then that told me a little bit about me. Oh, I naturally migrate towards things that are options, where they're open, because when I see these things pop up on Facebook and I look at the aggression and that, like, I don't know, it'll just be some conclusion about life. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay, sure. That's really limitless, or that's not even an invitation. That's a prison right there. That it looks like it's an inspirational quote, but it's basically punishment for, like, if you're not doing this, you're not happy, or happy, here's the way to happiness, or whatever. So I just find that kind of illuminating, right? And it gives you a little bit of a hint. When you see them popping up, it gives you a little hint as to where folks are at when they're putting that up in that moment. I don't mean like in their entire lives, right? Just in that moment, maybe something they were experiencing when they pop that up there. And so looking at life like a Facebook post, just the interconnectedness now that we experience, even here in this video, right? We're going to share it across the internet. We're going to email it to folks who are on our email list. We're going to put it up on YouTube and put it on our websites, and it's going to be available. And people can do whatever they want with it. They can torture themselves with it. They can inspire themselves with it. They can, comfort themselves with it. They can be illuminated by it. They can do whatever they want, and that's really up to them, because we're all ultimately self-led. And so if I were because so many people are so associated with social media now, I would say, like, at any time when you feel like posting something, just have a little check and see, is that kind? Like, is that a kindness to me? What I'm saying up there, is that it? I use it even as a piece of self-reflection. I use everything. I'm probably a bit, what do they call that? OCD or something. Anyway, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that part about me, that I'm willing to use anything from the pen I'm using to write, from a Facebook post to a bathwater that I'm running, to whatever, to learn and teach myself something about where I'm at in that moment, right? Just where am I at right now, and where am I at right now, and where am I at right now? Because that's what I find fun. So when I go to post, then I'm like, oh, what's my motivation for posting this? And like, what am I trying to tell people that really I'm actually talking to myself right now? And does that feel kind or nice? Does that actually feel like it's a contribution to where I'm at? Or does it feel like I'm bullwhipping myself into conform to something in order to feel something? Yeah, so that one kind of just feels like it just slid in from sideways into the conversation, but it's here. It's so prevalent and present.
Yeah, it's so valuable to be aware of that. It's like someone saying, you should be grateful. Or you need to be more loving. You need
Right.
to love yourself. And it's like, actually, that feels energetically quite aggressive. So I'm not
Yes.
sure if you're demonstrating what the energy of love and gratitude is
Right.
in your delivery. So that congruence, right, between the energy and the words,
Yeah.
and really tuning in to the
Yeah.
intention behind it, or where the space that you're in when you're posting. Is it a desire to express,
Yeah.
or a desire to escape?
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to escape how you're feeling by expressing, or do you want to express what's true for you through that sharing?
Yeah. And when we have this tendency maybe to feel a little bit self-imposing or externally imposing on, like maybe even a little evangelical about, like, not just, hey, this is what I'm experiencing now, but like, this is what you should be experiencing.
Right.
There's a big difference. And a lot of it is candy coated with like well-being or self-help or,
Totally.
advice around, look how happy I am. So if you want to be this happy, you should be doing this. And if you're not doing this, that's probably why you're not that happy,
Yes. Yeah. So the imposition of well-being or happiness or self-love, but it's delivered with this energy of either aggression or force.
Yeah.
And so there's often a lot of confusion, especially for those beings who are more on the sensitive side and more read energy and the energetics of things. It creates more confusion rather than greater clarity. So in our own process, allowing that the willingness to have a check-in, right? To how does this feel when I read this? Does my body relax? Does my breath get deeper?
Mm-hmm.
Do I go into this calm expansion, or do I go into a tense self-judgment or contraction? So often it's just really looking at how are we receiving these messages, and what do we actually require? And sometimes it is stepping back from the infiltration of messages so that we can actually hear something. Because again, the tendency when you're overstimulated is to block, right?
Yes.
So to create space to truly receive. And so definitely the art of living being amplified now in this present time.
I love that expression. That's exactly what it is. It is art, and you can't over direct it, right? You can't over direct art. It's gonna be what it is. It's gonna show up on the page, and you're gonna sort of learn what's going on by what turns out on the canvas sometimes, right? Yeah, and so you just have to be willing to keep your eyes open and see what you're up to.
Yeah, exactly.
See where you're at, and see if there's any discomfort with that, and if so, hey, what could I do with that? And so it's all so rich, right? It's just so vivid and so rich and so present. So yeah, very good. Well, that's what's going on this week.
Love it. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in, for joining in. And may we all have a blessed, joyful, loving week of deep self-knowing and exploration, as well as expression. So
wonderful. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.